Hey, what's going on, guys? What's going on? I am not going to be on here for too long, but I wanted to come in to say hello to you guys real quick before I head down to Chicago to do a half marathon that I'm absolutely dreading. But tonight we kind of had something that we really wanted to discuss, and I think it is worth discussing. I don't know if you guys saw there was an incident with Lizzo, who's about to go win a whole bunch of Grammys, and she's being celebrated by all the white people, and they think that she's wonderful. She's a hero. She's a role model and everything else. Well, there are some people that disagree. There are some people that saw Lizzo on TikTok, and Lizzo. I'm not even gonna show the video. If you want to see the video, I put the clip up on my Instagram page of the real Boyce Watkins. But basically, Lizzo is simulating the act of sucking a man's you know what. And the thing about TikTok, I don't know if you got kids that are on TikTok, but TikTok is not an app for adults. TikTok is an app for children. And so when I talked about it earlier, I got a message after I got done from my friend, from one of my friends who said Jade Arendelle really has something to say about this. Jade Arendelle actually feels that Lizzo could be defined as a predator, and I said, really, that's an interesting perspective. I didn't think about that, so I wanted to hear what she had to say. So before I jump into any more, I want to welcome my friend Jade Arendelle from FlyNewBeingQueenTV.com. How you doing today, Jade?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me on Dr. Boyce.
Oh, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you. So you used some language that was pretty strong. You actually felt that Lizzo was a predator for what she did. That this would be, in the category of predatory behavior toward children. Can you explain that?
Absolutely. So when we think of childhood sexual abuse, childhood molestation, and sexual assault, like people oftentimes think about the act of an adult having sex or doing a sexual act physically with a child. But childhood sexual assault and sexual abuse can also be defined as innuendos, gestures, emotionally manipulating or sexualizing children, or displaying yourself as an adult as sexual and projecting that onto children. I have a problem with Lizzo's disgusting behavior. It is completely inappropriate, in my opinion, in general, right? But to post a video of herself simulating, the act of about to give fellatio to a man on a website that is frequented by children, that is a problem. Her behavior also in the Staples Center was also a problem, shaking and twerking her behind and showing her butt cheeks, where they're at a family event. That was also, it really crossed the line. I know there was a lot of backlash about that. Like people, were crying foul, saying that folks like myself included, who criticize Lizzo, were fat shaming or body shaming. This whole liberal idea, which I can't wrap my head around, with this thing called body positivity. I don't really know exactly what the hell that's supposed to mean. Do know what's appropriate and what is not appropriate in the presence of children. And Lizzo proved herself to display acts, behaviors that are in the likeness of a sexual predator. If she were a man doing the same thing, a Black man doing this, in my opinion, in a group or especially children, she would be locked up by now. She would have gotten her sit at the Staples Center. What do you call it? Streaking, taking off all your clothes, running down the street, or lewd, lascivious behavior in public, flashing or showing your private parts. All of that is completely inappropriate. But in this case, what Lizzo engaged in on a website, a social media site frequented by children, is reminiscent of soft porn. And that's the problem.
Okay, so give me a yes or no, guys, if you were aware of what Lizzo did. Like, did you know? Yes or no? Were you aware of the Lizzo video? And I'll tell you, Jade, I did. I mean, I think what made a lot of this very clear to me was, I did say, we always talk about equality. Okay, well, let's do some equality here. What if, let's start with the Staples Center thing, where she came to the Staples Center dressed like, like it literally had butt cheeks out and all that stuff. What if a man, I would say, what if I did this, but I don't even want to put myself in that story. But what if a man shows up, to a Lakers game with his penis out, he's going to jail. That's not going to be considered funny, sexy, body positivity. It's not going to be seen as strong and heroic and bold and brave, and it's not going to get celebrated by media outlets. It's going to be seen, that person's going to jail. They're going to be seen as a predator. And so I think with Lizzo, I always had an issue with that sort of with the fact that they just sort of picked her out as like the it girl, right? And it wasn't just because she could sing and dance. We got plenty of Black women that can sing and dance their ass off. It was something about the raunchiness that made them say, okay, that's our hero. She's the one. What do you think? I mean, do you think that are we just beating up on Lizzo? Are we just trying to be mean to her, or what do you say to people that think that we're just picking her out and trying to just mess up a Black person who got a good opportunity?
Well, first of all, any and every monetary opportunity is not a good opportunity. I mean, I can't stress that enough. Also, all attention is not positive attention, and for those who would criticize Black people, like myself and like yourself or anybody else, a lot of our viewers out here who are watching right now or who will see this video later, if people are criticizing Black folks for having standards, then there's something wrong with them. Then they are attached to these anti-Black stereotypes and caricatures of Black people, which we are not. When we step up and take ownership of our images, how we present ourselves, our culture, our sensibilities, what we want our children exposed to, what we don't want our children exposed to, what we will and will not tolerate, then somehow, that becomes a threat to white supremacy. What we're actually doing is empowering ourselves, and we're taking control of a Black narrative. It is not appropriate for those types of behaviors to be displayed, period. Male, female, skinny, overweight, plus size, or whatever. I am not going to cape for that sort of toxic behavior. And no one else should either. And quite frankly, if there are parents out there who would continue to allow their children to listen to Lizzo's music, then I would question, their value system as well. I just don't see how anyone with good sense could rationalize Lizzo's actions, especially with them being so harmful to children. And it's just ridiculous.
Well, by the way, we're talking about Lizzo, Lizzo the singer, where basically she was on TikTok. TikTok is an app that attracts a lot of children, and she was simulating or preparing to do oral sex on a man. I don't know who the man was. I don't know what was going on. I'm speaking with Jade Arendelle from FlyNewbieandQueenTV.com, and Jade has the opinion, which I'm inclined to agree with her, that this actually defines predatory behavior. Now, one of the things that I tried to look up is examples of what would be considered to be inappropriate behavior, things like that, and I think, and I want to get a yes or no answer from everybody in the audience. So on this TikTok video, again, this is an app for children. She's wearing some Beyonce, one of the Beyonce clothing lines. I think it's called Ivy Park or something like that. And she's down on her knees. I'm not going to play the video here because it's bad enough that maybe I shouldn't even play it here. But I put it on my Instagram if you want to take a look at it. But basically she's on her knees and she's basically talking about tasting the whatever. And now I want to ask you this: yes or no? If a man went on TikTok, anybody, it could be whether it's R. Kelly or whoever, some male performer went on to a TikTok in front of children and prepared, just basically gave the insinuation he's about to go down on a woman, would that man be seen as a predator? Yes or no? Would that man be seen as as somebody that shouldn't be around children? Would that man be seen in a negative light? Give me a yes if you agree, no if you don't agree. Yes or no? If that was a man, what would happen? And so I agree with you. I mean, I don't think there's even much else to say. I think that I think at this point it's kind of interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what the mainstream media does, because if you notice this past week or two, they've really catapulted Lizzo in every way imaginable. It's almost like it's planned, like she's related to somebody important in the industry, because it's almost like it's rigged that they've decided, she's going to be the top performer in the world this year. And they're putting her on the cover of every magazine. They're making her into a feminist hero. And I would almost say, if I was a feminist, I would not want her to be seen as a feminist hero, because what you're doing is you're aligning feminism with incredibly ratchet behavior that feeds into rape culture, I believe. You're aligning feminism with the celebration of obesity. You're aligning feminism with child predatory behavior, but that's actually also at the same time not so surprising, because there are a lot of us. I don't know if you guys agree or see what I'm saying, but a lot of us have always suspected that child predator agenda was going to be next after they push all the other agendas. You know what I'm talking about? They had that that Catholic Church agenda. You know what I'm not going to say it, but y'all know what I'm talking about, that Catholic Church agenda right there behind it, because we know what goes on in Hollywood. But what are your thoughts on that in terms of moving forward and how mainstream media is going to react to this? And what do you think is sort of the next step on all this, Jade?
I think that mainstream media may continue to protect Lizzo. I mean, clearly Dr. Anderson talks about this all the time, has spoken about meritorious manumission. Lizzo is feeding, like a racist or white supremacist, anti-Black racist fantasy of her being this caricature of, this image, right, of a Black woman, right? We talk about mammyism, people talk about Jezebels. There are also sapphires and other horrible caricatures that have been used historically against Black women to push a narrative of Black women being, savages and really over-sexualized, sassy, etc., which, ultimately sends overt and covert messages that Black women are to be seen as objects and to be seen as unworthy, lacking in self-confidence, lacking in morals, lacking in scruples, etc. So I personally would not be surprised if mainstream media continues to take an approach that would kind of protect Lizzo to a certain degree. But I doubt that they will call out exactly what you and I are talking about, or what I'm seeing happening, which is childhood sexual abuse, and maybe even more specifically child grooming. Okay. And so, Doc, I know you were looking for a definition of child abuse, so sexual abuse, but it's when an adult or older adolescent uses a child for sexual stimulation. Forms of child sexual abuse include engaging in sexual activities with the child, whether by asking or pressuring or by other means, indecent exposure of the genitals, female nipples, etc., child grooming, child sexual exploitation, or using a child to produce child pornography. All right. So that's a general definition of childhood sexual abuse. But child grooming is kind of like modeling these sexual behaviors and preparing them to perform those acts on adults or on other children, and exploiting them in that way. And quite frankly, it's never appropriate. A person has to be crazy as hell, out of their mind, and also as sick as Lizzo is in this moment, to defend any of this behavior and exposing children to her butt cheeks, to her vagina, okay, and assaulting their little minds and psyches with pretending to get started, giving fellatio on a man on a website that is frequented by children. So I take this stuff very, very seriously. I'm an advocate for children. I work in schools. I have a background in teaching and education, and I'm serious as a judge right now. It is time for us to really put our foot down and stop this crazy behavior and mute Lizzo, period.
Jade, you said a really powerful word or a word that triggered me into a massive explosion of thought. You said the word grooming, and that word was heavy to me, because I remember somebody talking about R. Kelly, and one of the things they said R. Kelly did to a lot of young girls. And I'm no defender of R. Kelly. I'm a defender of fairness and truth, but not a defender of R. Kelly, because I saw Chicago happening for 20 years. It wasn't like it just popped up on me in a Lifetime documentary. And one of the things I heard somebody say is that he groomed these young ladies. When they talk about his two girlfriends, they were like, oh, well, he groomed them. They're overage now, but he groomed them. Like grooming a child for for certain behavior later on is like that's criminal, which I do think that there's a serious problem with that. So if R. Kelly is grooming young girls, by preparing them to do certain things as they get older, then why are we not grooming our young girls by presenting women like Lizzo and Cardi B as role models? Like, are we not grooming them as well? Are we not grooming them? Because has anybody ever listened carefully to Cardi B lyrics? I mean, I'm not dissing Cardi B. She's a really good rapper. But have you ever taken a second to listen to what she's rapping about? I listen to all the lyrics of all the rappers because I go on the hip hop shows and I like to know what's going on. And her lyrics are heavy, 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 heavy. They're not, I mean, when you imagine a 7-year-old memorizing the mind dump of a stripper, of a proud stripper prostitute who drugged and raped men for a living, when a 7-year-old girl is memorizing whatever comes out of her mind, whatever comes out of the stripper's mind, you're grooming her to become, R. Kelly's next victim. Like, you're grooming them. And that's why, when R. Kelly was in Chicago or doing his whatever the hell he was doing back in the day, I knew people in Chicago. I knew a school teacher who said that, when the first sex tape came out back in 2003, she asked the girls in her class, these were 14-year-old girls, and she said, would you sleep with R. Kelly if you had the chance? And a whole bunch of those girls said, heck yeah, I'd sleep with him. He looks good. He's, blah, blah, blah. He got money. He can sing, right? So they've been groomed to think that this grown-ass man was somebody that they should get with. So, whereas I can think, I've seen scenarios of other little girls who are like, no, he's old. Like, why would I want to do that, right? So certain young children are groomed for whatever they're doing when they get 11, 12, 13 years old. And if men are, should be accused, rightfully so, of grooming them, then why can't a Lizzo or Cardi B be grooming them, especially when they're not looking at R. Kelly and saying, that's my role model. They're looking at Lizzo and Cardi B and saying, those are my heroes. I admire you so much. I'll let you get the last word, Jade. What are your last thoughts?
Dr. Boyce, I think you're right. You're spot on. And I know that we're using really, really recent trending examples of this, right? We're talking about Lizzo, but we're really not talking about Lizzo and Cardi B. We're talking about R. Kelly, but how did we get here? All right. So when I was a child growing up, everybody was rocking Little Kim and Foxy Brown, and they were saying, and doing really, really raunchy things that were definitely pushing the envelope in the 90s. All right. And in the early 2000s. And so right now we have a bunch of millennials and a bunch of people Gen X or whatever the hell generation who have become desensitized to these forms of sexual grooming. Yes, R. Kelly groomed, has been, alleged, and I believe that he did a lot of that stuff, like we watched, and knew about Aaliyah and all of these things. Like, he groomed these women, these young girls, until they grew up into women, to performing certain sexual acts. That is one individual, a grown man, alleged pedophile, doing these sorts of behaviors to young girls and young women. This has been done to us on a massive scale through mainstream media, the entertainment industry, and hip hop, through music, from the 90s going on all the way up. When you talk about the over sexualization of, Black women, or, feeding into a culture where this sort of like these inappropriate things have become normalized. And it's happened over and over and over and over and over again over the past 30 years to right now. We have parents who see what Lizzo's doing, call themselves feminists, or they call themselves open-minded, or whatever, or they don't think that this is as big of a deal, because to a certain degree, Dr. Boyce, they have been groomed, sexually and sexually exploited, and their sensibilities, their young sensibilities, harmed by this sort of propaganda, this mass projection of this type of culture, which is highly, highly, highly problematic. I see Lizzo as demonstrating sexual predatory behavior. You can't tell me anything different. I think if you're a parent or an adult and you allow your children to continue to listen to this foolishness, or to look up to Lizzo, or see Lizzo in any, way, form, or fashion, I think that, You might want to check your value system or what you are subjecting your children to. But this is child abuse. It's a form of abuse.
Mm. All right, all right. Well, yes or no? Give me a yes or no in the chat if you think that what Lizzo did by simulating oral sex on TikTok, an app that attracts kids. Give me a yes or no if you think that that constitutes a form of predatory behavior. Give me a yes or no in the chat. Also, everybody, please give a digital thank you and a round of applause for Jade Arundel from FlyNewBeingQueenTV.com. She had a lot of good commentary on the topic. I look forward to hearing more of what you have to say about it, Jade, as well. And also Adina Jacobs and others had a lot of great things to say. So you can go to FlyNewBeingQueenTV.com to hear what the sisters have to say over there as well. And thank you guys for hearing us out. We appreciate you. Please hit the thumbs up, share, and subscribe button. Also, if you want to support the platform and help us grow, go to intelligentblackpeople.com. That's intelligentblackpeople.com. And I'll chime in with you guys on my way to the half marathon tomorrow. I'm about to run a 13-mile race tomorrow. And I want to encourage everybody who's sitting on the couch, just baby steps, just get up and just do something. Just keep it moving. That's the goal. Keep your feet moving so that you can cut these pounds off, because that's all I do. I'm telling you, Jay, when I run, I'm not running to be Mr. Olympia. I am simply I'm running away from obesity. That's what I'm doing. I'm not, in fact, I don't even run most of the time. I'm literally just, my goal, my thinking is just keep moving, keep your feet moving, and you won't get fat. So I share that because I want everybody to know, like, I'm not really up here at this high level. I'm right there with you. I just kind of nudge myself off the couch, and it makes a big difference. So just do something a little different with yourselves. You'll be happy you did it. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Jade. It's good to see you, sister.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Doc. You too. And that, which you just described with your marathon, that is actually body positivity. Let's celebrate that. Kudos to you.
Body positivity. You ain't got to be fat to be body positive. Well, that's good. I'm glad to know that because I don't want to be fat. All right. Have a good night, Jay. And see you guys later. I'll talk to you later. All right. Peace.
Good night.